What started as a single man's vision in a Connecticut workshop became the backbone of global aviation. We're looking at every Sikorsky helicopter, from the first lifting rotor to the latest stealth. First up, military helicopters. Sikorsky R4. The first helicopter manufactured in quantity anywhere in the world, it flew combat rescues in World War II and pulled wounded soldiers from terrain no fixed-wing aircraft could reach. Sikorsky R5. Where its predecessor established that mass production was possible, this one proved the helicopter was genuinely useful. It carried more, flew farther, and gave military planners a clearer picture of what vertical flight could actually offer on a battlefield. Sikorsky R6. A cleaner fuselage and better pilot visibility represented steady progress on the early helicopter formula. Each incremental improvement helped cement the idea that rotary wing aircraft belonged across every branch of the military, not just in experimental programs. Now this is the Sikorsky H-18. Small, light, and simple to operate, this platform filled the unglamorous but essential role of training and observation. Teaching new pilots the demands of helicopter flight was among the most important work any aircraft in the Sikorsky fleet could do. The next one, Sikorsky H-19 Chickasaw. The Korean War gave this aircraft its defining moment. Mounting the engine in the nose and raising the cockpit above it freed the entire cabin for troops and stretchers, and that space was used hard, hauling wounded soldiers off hillsides nothing else could reach. Sikorsky CH-37 Mojave. Two enormous engine pods flanking the fuselage make this aircraft unmistakable, and the cargo capacity those engines unlocked was unlike anything the military had seen before. Artillery pieces and vehicles that previously had to go around obstacles could now go over them. The next one, Sikorsky H-34 Choctaw. Reliable, tough, and adaptable enough to serve across multiple branches on multiple continents. This piston-powered veteran flew transport and anti-submarine missions for navies and air forces that trusted it across decades of demanding service. Sikorsky SH-3 Sea King. Designed to counter the submarine threat of the Cold War, it could land on water and deploy sonar to hunt threats lurking beneath the surface. It is also the aircraft that recovered Apollo astronauts from the Pacific Ocean after their splashdown. Sikorsky CH-3 Pelican. Built on an amphibious hull and stretched for long-range troop and cargo transport, this Coast Guard variant gave crews the reach to operate far over water. Modified versions flew directly into enemy territory during Vietnam to recover downed airmen. Now this is the Sikorsky HH-52 Sea Guard. The Coast Guard needed a turbine-powered amphibious helicopter it could trust through the worst weather on the American coastline. This one served that mission for decades and is credited with saving more than 15,000 lives during its time in service. Sikorsky CH-54 Tahi. Named for a Wyandotte chief, this aircraft is nothing but a cockpit, a spine, and an enormous rotor. Everything useful gets attached underneath. In Vietnam, it recovered downed aircraft and delivered artillery to mountain positions that no road could supply. Sikorsky CH-53 Sea Stallion. When the Marines needed something large enough to recover downed aircraft and haul heavy equipment into combat, this was Sikorsky's answer. It flew some of the most dangerous missions of the Vietnam War, including the final evacuation of Saigon in 1975. Sikorsky UH-60 Black Hawk. Few aircraft in history have shaped a conflict the way this one shaped American military operations. From Grenada to Mogadishu to Afghanistan, it has been the primary machine for getting soldiers into the fight and getting the wounded back out. Sikorsky SH-60 Seahawk. Taking the Black Hawk airframe to sea required folding rotors to fit ship hangars and an entirely new mission suite. From destroyer decks, it hunts submarines, rescues sailors, and extends the operational reach of every fleet that operates it. Sikorsky HH-60 Pave Hawk. When an aircraft goes down behind enemy lines, this is the machine that goes in after the crew. An aerial refueling probe provides unlimited range, and advanced navigation allows flight in total darkness through conditions that would ground almost anything else. Sikorsky CH-53E Super Stallion. Adding a third engine to the Sea Stallion airframe produced something in a different class entirely. The largest and most powerful helicopter in the Western world when it entered service, it could recover tanks and deliver them to the front in a single lift. Sikorsky CH-53K King Stallion. Rebuilt from the ground up, rather than simply upgraded, this modern heavy lifter uses composite materials, fly-by-wire flight controls, and dramatically more powerful engines to deliver 3 times the lift capacity of the helicopter it replaces. Now this is the Sikorsky CH-148 Cyclone. Canada required a maritime helicopter capable of hunting submarines and conducting surveillance across the North Atlantic, one of the harshest operating environments on Earth. Built on the S-92 airframe and packed with advanced sensors, it became that aircraft. Then, Sikorsky VH-92 Patriot. When the president boards this helicopter, the call sign becomes Marine One, and it was built to be worthy of that designation. Secure communications, defensive systems, and a cabin engineered around the specific demands of transporting the most protected passenger on Earth. Let's move on to civilian and commercial helicopters. Sikorsky S-51. The Westland Widgeon was a development of the earlier Sikorsky S-51 design, proving that helicopter technology had outgrown its experimental origins. Its graceful lines and large bubble canopy made it one of the most recognizable aircraft of the late 1940s. Sikorsky S-52. The first helicopter to fly with all-metal rotor blades, this compact design set speed records and signaled that helicopter technology was advancing faster than most of the aviation world had anticipated. A quiet milestone that changed what rotor construction looked like. Up next, Sikorsky S-55. Putting the engine in the nose and raising the cockpit above it was the insight that changed everything. That one layout decision freed the entire mid-fuselage, and this became the first helicopter to fundamentally change how armies moved soldiers across a battlefield. Sikorsky S-58. Beginning life as a piston-powered anti-submarine and transport helicopter, this design later converted to turbine power and found a second career that outlasted its first. Airlines, oil companies, and military operators on every continent eventually flew it. Sikorsky S-61. A boat hull that allowed water landings gave this helicopter a capability that made it the obvious choice for recovering Apollo astronauts from the ocean after splashdown. Civilian variants are still flying offshore transport and VIP missions today. Sikorsky S-62. The Coast Guard's first turbine-powered amphibious helicopter combined water landing capability with reliable turbine performance in a package purpose-built for coastal rescue. The combination saved lives across a generation of service along America's shores. The next one, Sikorsky S-64 Skycrane. The fuselage exists only to support the rotor and connect the cockpit to the tail, because the entire point of this aircraft is what hangs beneath it. Logging operations and firefighting services around the world have depended on that capability for decades. Now this is the Sikorsky S-70, the commercial and export designation for the Black Hawk family. This variant gives operators outside the US military access to the same rugged twin-engine airframe that has defined American combat aviation for nearly half a century. Now this is the Sikorsky S-76 Spirit. Designed from day one for the executive and offshore market, this aircraft became the gold standard in both. Fast, quiet, and impeccably refined inside, it transports oil rig crews and corporate passengers with exactly the same level of competence. Sikorsky S-92. Offshore operators needed a helicopter large enough to carry full crews to distant platforms, while satisfying the strictest civilian safety standards ever demanded of a rotary wing aircraft. Built specifically for that challenge, it now dominates the market it was created to serve. Sikorsky S-300. More pilots have learned to fly helicopters in this aircraft than almost any other in Sikorsky's catalogue. The large bubble canopy provides unobstructed visibility in every direction, and the forgiving handling lets students concentrate on learning the craft rather than managing the machine. Sikorsky S-333. A turbine engine and an improved rotor system elevated this design well above the training market it grew from. Police aviation units and utility operators found it well matched to patrol and inspection work, where both maneuverability and endurance are non-negotiable. Sikorsky S-434. A three-blade rotor delivered a noticeably smoother and more efficient ride than the design it built upon. This modern refinement of a proven platform was aimed directly at operators working in the hot and high conditions where earlier versions had struggled. Moving on to unmanned aerial vehicles. Sikorsky Cypher. A shrouded rotor inside a ring-shaped airframe made this unmanned aircraft dramatically safer to operate near people and structures than any open rotor drone of its era. It was Sikorsky's first serious step into autonomous rotary wing systems. Up next, Sikorsky Cypher 2, adding wings to the original ring-shaped concept, transformed a hovering surveillance platform into a hybrid capable of efficient forward flight. It pointed toward the kind of unmanned capability that military reconnaissance missions would eventually demand. And our last category is early and experimental helicopters. Sikorsky H-1. In the years right after the helicopter proved it could actually work, the military started asking what else it could do. This early utility and rescue design was part of that answer, quietly building the case for rotary wing aviation. Sikorsky H-2. Sikorsky's engineers were learning fast in those early post-war years, and this compact machine reflected every lesson. Small but capable, it pushed the boundaries of what a light helicopter could accomplish in utility roles. Next, Sikorsky VS-300. Every Sikorsky helicopter that ever flew traces its ancestry back to this one machine. Igor Sikorsky piloted it himself in 1939, establishing the main rotor and tail rotor configuration that the entire helicopter industry still relies on today. Sikorsky S-53. The Sikorsky H-5 was a pioneering helicopter that served in a variety of utility and rescue roles. Its versatile design proved the effectiveness of the helicopter for military operations, paving the way for later heavy-lift transport aircraft. Next, Sikorsky S-57, Republic XF-84H, Thunder Screech. Designed as an experimental high-speed turboprop fighter, this aircraft was known for being one of the loudest ever built due to its supersonic propeller tips. It represents an ambitious attempt to push propulsion limits. Sikorsky S-59. Swapping the piston engine for a gas turbine changed everything. This aircraft broke speed records and proved that turbine power was the future of helicopter aviation, a lesson the rest of the industry absorbed very quickly. Now this is the Sikorsky S-60. Strip away the cabin and keep only the rotor and the frame, and you have the purest expression of the flying crane idea. Built entirely to haul heavy loads externally, it was the direct ancestor of the legendary Sky Crane that followed. Sikorsky S-66. Chasing military speed contracts meant rethinking how a helicopter moved through the air. A pivoting tail rotor that could push the aircraft forward, as well as control direction, gave this design a top speed the Army had not seen from a rotary wing before. Then, Sikorsky S-67 Black Hawk. Before the famous utility transport carried that name, Sikorsky built this high-speed attack demonstrator and gave it the same one. It performed rolls and loops no military helicopter had ever managed, and set speed records that stood for years. Sikorsky S-69. Two counter-rotating rotors, stacked on a single shaft, allowed this research aircraft to bypass the speed limits that physics places on conventional helicopters. The data it gathered pointed toward an entirely new frontier for rotary wing performance. Now this is the Sikorsky S-71. Drawing on existing components to keep costs down, this dedicated attack proposal combined heavy firepower with a streamlined airframe. It reflected the company's determination to compete in every segment of military aviation simultaneously. Sikorsky S-72. NASA and the Army wanted a flying laboratory capable of testing new rotor systems under real conditions. The result could operate as a helicopter or a fixed-wing aircraft, making it one of the most unusual and scientifically valuable machines Sikorsky ever produced. Next, Sikorsky S-73. The Vision was an aircraft capable of lifting entire shipping containers and moving them through the air. This flying crane concept of extraordinary scale was designed for heavy industrial and military logistics at a level nothing else could match. Sikorsky S-75. Could composite materials replace metal in a helicopter airframe without sacrificing crew protection? The Army needed an answer, and this aircraft, built under the Advanced Composite Airframe program, provided one that shaped military helicopter construction for decades. Up next, Sikorsky RAH-66 Comanche. 2 decades of development went into creating a scout helicopter that could see the enemy without being seen in return. Weapons hidden internally, angular surfaces to deflect radar, and sensors decades ahead of their time made it the most advanced military helicopter the United States ever nearly put into service. Sikorsky X-2. The speed limits that aviation had accepted for helicopters turned out not to be limits at all. Counter-rotating rotors, paired with a pusher propeller, Let this demonstrator shatter the existing rotary wing speed record and reframe what was possible. Sikorsky S-97 Raider. Everything demonstrated by the X-2 program was scaled up and made combat-ready here. This light attack platform hovers with helicopter precision and accelerates to speeds that leave conventional rotary wing aircraft far behind. Sikorsky SB-1 Defiant. Built alongside Boeing to show the Army what a next-generation assault transport could do, this aircraft uses rigid counter-rotating rotors to maintain rock-solid stability at speeds that would shake a conventional helicopter to pieces. Then, Sikorsky Raider X, the latest evolution of the high-speed combat concept, and Sikorsky's formal bid for the Army's Future Attack Reconnaissance Aircraft program. Every lesson learned from years of compound rotor research lives inside this machine. Sikorsky Firefly. Converting an existing airframe into a hybrid aircraft gave Sikorsky a practical way to explore what electric-assisted rotary wing flight actually felt like. Quiet, clean, and emissions-free, it was the company's first serious look at the future of helicopter power.